Governor Martinez talked about the need to make some changes in the Children, Youth, and Families Department. Now here on New Mexico in Focus, we recently talked about her appointment of Monique Jacobson from the Tourism Department to go over to CYFD. And Ms. Martinez talked in her State of the State address about other changes that she thinks will help improve the department.
And to better recruit and retain caseworkers in state government, I propose establishing a new loan repayment program where the state pays a portion of our caseworkers' student loans in exchange for their service. The job of a caseworker is incredibly difficult. It's why we have such high turnover. We have already raised the average caseworker's pay at CYFD by 10%. And this initiative is the next step.
You know, it's interesting, Sophie, these loan repayment programs, they're out there for teachers and other things. But this is a whole another matter altogether. You pay to get your schooling for social work, you get out there in the field. I have to think this would help a little bit. Does it sense in your gut level it would help some?
Oh, I think it's appealing.
Okay.
I think it's appealing. I think one challenge that we see with CYFD is that they have had tremendous difficulty not just recruiting, but retaining. And the culture within CYFD has not, from everything I've heard, been the most worker-friendly. And so
for a long time.
For a long time, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure that that a program like this, while it might get people to stay a little longer, it might get people in the door, you want to remember that your best people are highly mobile and likely could leave even with a program like this if the culture, if the environment, if the support isn't there.
Right.
And it remains to be seen whether this new secretary designate can make the changes within CYFD, not just in how CYFD interacts with the community, but how they interact internally, because that is what we're hearing is one of the huge problems over there in terms of keeping people.
You know, retention, Sophie mentioned, your pay raise that she proposed as well of 10%, ostensibly to help with that retention issue. Does that feel like that's a good start?
Yeah, I think it's a start. Yeah. I mean, CYFD has got some major issues, and you know, it's a culture thing, not just here in New Mexico, but across the country. You know, and just in the past year, you had the Omar Varela case, which was just absolutely horrible. So let's hope it's a good step in the right direction.
You know, Dan, I've talked to caseworkers and social workers in this state. They say, look, very simply, you can give us a 10% raise to bring us on a par with maybe perhaps our neighbor states, but our issues are so far beyond what those other people are working with, it's an emotional wash. It doesn't make up for enough, like a 10% raise. Perhaps we should just really get after this and make it a very well-paying job? Is that an idea
I'm not sure
for retention?
I'm not sure. Listen, this is one of those jobs that you couldn't pay me enough money to ever go do.
I'm with you, brother.
And one of the things, we have a unique situation in New Mexico that I don't think exists in a lot of other states, and that's how rural we are. Right. I mean, you have to remember, there's people working CYFD in towns like Roswell that have to go to the store, go to church, go to school with the same people they're having to call on every single day. Their kids are friends with these kids. You know, you look at some of these examples where they have big cities like in Chicago and New York, and sometimes they send those people out to do work. They get to come back in and they don't have to interact every day. But you start bringing in places like Las Vegas and Espanola and Roswell and Carlsbad, that's, I think, something that no matter who's in charge and no matter what the culture is at CYFD, that's a very tough deal to overcome, to put someone out there basically on their own and say, you've got to do this stuff. You know, the other thing too, you got to remember, we put these caseworkers in some pretty difficult situations. I mean, they send these caseworkers into homes where there's known abuse, you know that abuse is happening, and then the caseworker, if they do the wrong thing, they could be held accountable either way. So I think that there's got to be some real look at the laws dealing with abuse in New Mexico. I think we've created a culture over the years that is a little more tolerant of abuse than it should be. And I think at the end of the day that the pay raise helps, but I just don't know if there's any way to, and the loan repayment, well, the pay raise, the loan repayment, all the things that they're doing, I think are going to help. But I just still think, you know, these people need to be kept in our thought and prayers. It's an unbelievably difficult job, and you know, God bless those that choose to do it.
It's amazing, isn't it? It really is quite something. Lonnie, you know, for the Secretary Designate Jacobson, one of the issues that we talked about at this table a couple of weeks ago is the idea of leadership, and her being able to talk to her rank and file and motivating, encouraging, feeling like they're understood at the top with the isolation Dan's talking about. It's a very difficult position. Coming out of tourism, that's a very different sort of a rah-rah kind of a position. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see how these two kind of needs blend together. What's your thought on that? What kind of leadership are we looking for here out of COAFD?
Well, I think we need to have a leader who's going to really look internally and try to bring the organization together and provide a way to support the employees who are going out there. How do you create an environment internally that's going to support them when they come back, so that they can go out there and face their neighbors and talk to their friends?
I think the secretary, Gene, at one level, you look at the qualifications of the secretary designate to come in and do this job.
Right.
I think the real test is going to be, and the real tell of how she's going to do, is what she does right underneath her. Who are the people she brings in to be deputy secretaries? What shuffle she does? Because that's the people. The secretary.
They run the ship,
secretary
basically,
comes out to cut the cake and tell you you're doing a great job and give you an award.
Right.
It's the person that has to handle those phone calls every day, the deputy secretaries, and it's going to be interesting to see if, in my opinion, over the years, that stuff has always pretty much stayed status quo, and that's been the complaint. So maybe with the shakeup, there's going to be some real desire to go outside, bring in some new folks, make some changes at that mid-level area.
Let me ask you a question about that. That's an interesting point you bring up, because she's ostensibly making these hires. Is her background at a place to be able to know what kind of talent she's judging to do field work and to do?
No, I don't know if it is, but I would tell you in today's age, there's firms that help you do that. There's people that can help you do that. Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, all you really have is someone's resume and what they have done and accomplished and checking references. So I think that, at some point there's going to have to be a change. I think at CYFD, one of the things I would suggest, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of calls of people agreeing with me, I mean that tongue in cheek, is I think it's time to kind of wash out middle management. Get out of New Mexico, go find some people from other states, bring in some fresh ideas, and have them work with the people that are out there every day, because I just think we seem to have this repetitive motion of the same old, same old.
You remind me of a story, Rob Nikolewski, Congresswoman Heather Wilson was once head of this department under Gary Johnson. And she famously tried to institute the Baldrige criteria of performance evaluation right off the bat and nearly had a riot in the place. I'm talking
Equal to teacher merit, teacher
any merit,
evaluation.
right, exactly. Out the door went a whole bunch of folks on this retention idea. Again, no one's fault here, but it speaks to a culture. Something needs to be shaken from top to bottom, it seems to me. And I ask again, is this the leadership to actually scrub an entire system that really needs a lot of help top to bottom? This could be a 10-year project, literally.
This is going to be a major test for anyone. And Monique Jacobson has stepped into this thing I've talked to a number of people who have very high things to say about her, very complimentary things to say about her. And marketing and advertising is a difficult job, but here this is a job that literally involves life and death.
Right.
So let's hope it works.
Yeah, I'm curious, Sophie, if we'll see. If I was on her team, here's what I would do. I'd say, look, the first 3 weeks to a month, every time you're in the press, you're in either just coming out of someone's home or just going into somebody's home, meaning you're getting out there and understanding what this job's about. I want to see you out there breathing the air that your staff has to breathe.
One thing I will say, and I have some real reservations about the appointment, but one thing I will say is that a really good marketing professional, a great deal of the work that you do is listening, gathering information, listening to constituents who are not the internal constituent necessarily, but going out and talking to your clients, your customers. And I think that is something that if CYFD can bring some of that in, that's really appealing, and that would be a really interesting change for that organization.
I would agree with Gene with what you said. Sure. I would add to that, I'd like to see her get in a car with one person, so she's not doing all the driving herself, and show up to these offices in Carlsbad and Roswell and Artesia, and go to the caseworkers themselves and say, I want to go with you.
There you go.
I want to talk to you. I don't want your supervisor. I'm not announcing that I'm coming. What is it that's keeping you from doing your job? And then take that stuff back and say, legislature, governor, here's what we got to do. This is what the people out there every single day are schlepping against to try to make this work. And here's what we need to do. If she stays in Santa Fe and tries to make these great decisions from on high, it'll be an unmitigated disaster. I have faith that she's going to get out. Kind of like Sophie said, doing the marketing stuff, you got to get out, you got to go taste the product, you got to do the things that need to be done. Maybe the governor's thinking it's time to bring someone in with a different philosophy, get them out there and find it out. But I would get out, like you said, to those homes and go to those caseworkers and ask them what they need.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here as panelists. I love this kind of show, for joining us this week. We'll have a web extra on the governor's comments on corruption in government, and if you want to reach that, go there and weigh in on Governor Susana Martinez's State of the State address. Get in touch with us to share your thoughts. Connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. to share your reactions or send an email to nmif@nmpbs.org.